So this week, the first part of the discussion is, besides structure, what makes poets like Frost and Millay different from Williams and Stevens? I think the thing that makes them the most different is how they write their poems. And I mean, Frost and Millay do it more what I think most people would think of when you think of poems. Like, they have different like rhyme schemes sometimes, or like patterns throughout their poem, and they're really descriptive with what like they're talking about, whereas Stevens and Williams have a different way of writing their poems. They don't use the same techniques as Frost and Millay. So an example is Stevens. He uses a lot of obscure references. He's in his poems, what he's known for is being very vague, to force people to use their imagination and to really think about what it's being said in the poem. And he does that because he feels like the deeper the reader goes in thought about the poem, then that's like the true art of it. And Williams, on the other hand, he feels that anything can be a poem, and the best example of that is, I thought, was he wrote the letter to his wife, and it was about him stealing something from the fridge from her. And I'm not saying it's not a poem, but it's just not what I would think of when I would think of a poem. And also about the red wheelbarrow, it's him describing the wheelbarrow. So I don't think it's not a poem, it's just Millay and Frost had the more, that's what I think of when I think of poems. The second part of the question is, which writes real poetry, or is poetry just subjective? So even though, to me, I feel like Frost and Millay that's what I think about when I think of poetry, that's not the same with everyone. Stevens and Williams they're just as good as the other two. It's just a different way of doing it. So I don't think there is a real poetry. I think that it's kind of just how whoever's reading it interprets it, and your individual feeling, like what you prefer.